Welcome. Today I'm going to be running the Winter Nexus event site in nullsec. That means below 0.0. I'll be using the Paladin. This is the fit. Double cap control circuits, 4 guns, 2 smart bombs. The smart bombs you can't really cheapen out. You really need it. Tractor beam, Bastion, 1 large cap battery, micro jump drive. You need grapple and web. You could use a faction grappler. I just cheap. And then tank. The sights aren't really that damaging if you're in Marauder, so if anything, the most important thing here is the power grenade because cap. Now, it says that the fit isn't cap stable, but you're not going to be running all of it on at once. There is some new pressure, but because you have a cap battery and because the newts aren't really doing much against the capacitor capacity of 11k, they need like 20 or so you're going to be fine. The Repper, you're not going to be running it all the time. You want to cycle it on. I find that usually I need to cycle the Repper maybe 3 times a site. So yeah, if you want, you could try taking one of these membranes off, putting on more damage, putting on more tracking. And yeah, let's get started. Now again, it's always good practice. Check local, have it all outside in case anything does happen. Marauders were nerfed, so now they are warm-minute bastions, which makes it slightly more dangerous. The nullsec, there are 2 waves. There are 3 waves. One wave that's there on landing, another one that spawns, and then the battleship wave. The battleship wave is honestly the easiest wave. The others, there are cruisers and there are frigates. The frigates, you're not applying to. So, yeah. The cruisers, it's not you don't apply to them, you just don't apply to them well, which seems to be somewhat of a theme this event. Paladins really aren't the best at application, so now as you see, I have Conflagration, which you'll be using to shoot the boss. I have Imperial Navy Multifrequency loaded right now, which honestly is probably going to be the ammo used the most. And I have a Scorch in my cargo. Well, this is I was running for an hour and this is what I got, so yeah, 863 mil, pretty good ISK. I also have Scorch ammo, which honestly I haven't used at all. I mean, it could be helpful, it's probably not going to be. I very much doubt you're ever going to need to use it, but hey, it's always better to have it than not if you ever get jumped. The MJD, now usually if you want to be safe you would MJD the instant you land on a site, but because it's blue space and because I'm pretty sure I'm safe, I'm just not going to bother with that step. And it looks like somebody already took this site. Okay. Now, you might be wondering why smart bombs. There are a bunch of frigs that like to orbit you at 3k or so. Now, you could try to grapple them, web them, shoot them down, but they require your... Paladins aren't exactly known for their tracking. So it's just easier to smart bomb them off while you shoot everything else. Tracking is a big issue this site if you're flying a Paladin. Oh, nice new spawn. Tracking is a pretty big issue because you really don't have that good of a tracking. Even with grapple web, you're missing a lot of shots. So personally, I would say use a Vargur because Vargurs have the best tracking of all. But Paladin can still work. Yeah, let's get to the site. Now again, always I put it all outside the gate so I can, that way if somebody jumps in, I can watch and I can start leaving. Now this all is actually I was using this all to run a bunch of the data sites. I think I ran, I'm not sure how much I ran. I mean, I got 230 points all from the data sites. No idea how many sites it comes out to, but yeah. I was mainly doing this just if I see something, I'll just run it, and yeah. It's data sites aren't as good as, but they're still pretty decent. Now, if I want to be safe, I would MJD right here, which I'm going to do as an example. There are no scrams, so your MJD will always go off. There are points, however, so as you can see, there are points, so you're probably locked in place somewhat. The good thing about this site is, if you're too far away, the rats will warp off and then warp back right on top of you. First wave, every single rat will always do that. Second wave, there are some rats that will do it, some rats that won't. If you stay on the warping beacon, if you are off the warping beacon, they will always warp into the warping beacon, warp off, and come back, right on top of you. Now, as you can see, there are a bunch of rats here. Most of these will open you at 3k. There are only a couple rats that actually do. There are rats that point, rats that newt, and rats that web. The point and newt rats will always burn within 3k, so you can just smart them off, as you can see. Those are the daunting rats and the darkling rats and the numbing rats. The halberst rats, they will web you, and they will stay around 8k off, which is outside of your Smartbomb range, because EMPs aren't as range, blah blah blah. They're going to stay outside, so just shoot them down. They are going to orbit you at 8k, so that is within your Grappler range. So yeah, they'll die pretty quickly. Now, as you can see, they're all 3k, 4k, 5k. I'm going to show you why you always want to. These things are not easy to hit. Misses. Well, that one hit, but yeah, it just saves you so much time just using smart bombs. Now, if you were running in high sec or low sec, especially high sec, that does add an extra layer of risk because it's high sec. If you're in high sec, please use a Vargur or a Chronos. Just yeah. As you can see, they warp onto the beacon. If you were on the beacon, potentially some of them will still warp off, some of them will be within range, so they will just start attacking you. Again, daunting, numbing. The halberst, you're going to have to kill. The other 3 will just burn within your range. And in the meanwhile, start working on the cruisers. The cruisers, actually, you don't track that well. Even though that might just be because I don't have a tracking computer, so I just find it easier to just shoot them outright from the start, when you can still apply to them somewhat. You can see they do newt. The numbing newted 5, this numbing newted 28. It's not that strong. You have 11k capacity. You're probably not going to get newted out. And yeah. I was a bit slow on the Smartbomb, so this wave is going to take a bit longer. Now, you remember wondering why multi-frequency of conflagration. It's just tracking is such a big issue this site that you really want the multi-frequency instead. And then everything's going to be within range, so there's no point in sacrificing damage for increased tracking further than that. Since the others, they're just drastically lower. Okay. Last wave is the Battleship wave. Switch to Conflag because you're going to be hitting it outright. As you can see, I took basically all of my shield and a bit of armor damage. I might need to rep once more. Probably not. But the Battleship, I always find that I need to rep twice. And again, it lands on the beacon, or somewhere around the beacon. At most, around 40 off. Every single time the Battleship lands, if you're on the beacon, you can just straight up start shooting at it from then. Battleship, if you're on the beacon, the Battleship will never warp off. Then yeah, lock it up and it should die pretty quickly. Because it's 1 minute, optimally you want to time it so that your Bastion cycle expires as the rat dies, but it's hard to play around that. You can see the Battleship does do some damage. Not a lot, but does do some. So I think 1 rep will be enough, maybe 2 to top off. And that's the site. Lock it up, use your tractor beam. I would recommend against using MTUs because MTUs will pull in every single wreck and then pull in the large wreck because it's furthest away. You might be stuck here for longer if you have an MTU. And let's see. 82 mil. Just grab the good stuff, and I'll show you again without MGTing off the beacon. I warp to the 1.77, so now if you have two accounts, you can always try basically while you're running the site also try running the data site. The data sites are pretty easy. They're green cores and there's only 50-20 things that spawn, so the hardest part is honestly just finding them because they're level 4 signatures. After that, they're pretty easy to just hack into. When you warp in, every single route will warp off. This time I'm just going to Bastion on the beacon. Sometimes one of the rats may, because they spawn around this area, one of the rats may have a vector that leads them through the structure and they will be stuck there. At that point, you can't really do anything. You can't knock them because they're technically in warp. It's going to hurt your time, but there's really nothing you can do about it. And once again, how to burst this one. I think this is the cruiser. Shoot down the cruiser first. Both of these should burn within range, so just smart bombs on and forget about them. Battle cruiser, you can shoot with conflag. That thing you can actually apply to. As you can see, I'm shooting multi-freak at the cruisers. It's within 15 kilometers. It's not playing well. You have to web it. There we go. I see I'm hitting 1k now. Without the web, I was hitting maybe 300. Now the battle cruisers, you can switch to conflag. Because this is a Paladin, you really don't need to worry about switching ammo type. So you could shoot multi-freak at it. It's just slightly quicker, like maybe one cycle less if you shoot conflag at it. Repair once. Now when you see the second wave warp in, some of them won't warp off. They'll just start attacking you instantly. That is good because it's a tiny bit of time save. And yeah, tracking really is an issue. I'm just gonna let this burn into 14 and then I'll start working on the others. So this is why I recommend the Vargar. The Vargar is just much higher tracking than the or the Chronos. They just have much higher tracking than the Paladin. The Paladin's better at range. The Vargar and the Chronos are just better for actually applying to stuff. Practice is honestly maybe the only thing you can apply to without webs. Now, if I wanted to, I should have probably waited, because there's nuisances, I probably should have waited until my Bastion cycle was up, and then MJD, and then kill the rat. But now, hopefully I can kill it in time. I'm gonna have to do Bastion here. Flycatcher. Okay, this is slightly risky. So yeah, there's that site done. Turn off your smart bombs. And yeah, that's how you run these sites really quickly with a Marauder.